When people talk about immigration, they often talk about money.
But is immigration good or bad for an economy? Here are the facts. High levels of immigration tend to expand the total size of an economy. More people in Canada means more people buying clothes, groceries, and cars. More people equals more money being spent. So our economy gets bigger, but that doesn't necessarily mean more money for everyone.
Canada, a nation renowned for its diversity, welcoming spirit, and robust economy, is facing a critical challenge that threatens its long-term prosperity. Despite its reputation as a land of opportunity, the Great White North is grappling with a declining population and an economy that is barely staying afloat, with a mere 1.1% growth as of 2023. As a result, the country has turned to immigration as a potential solution to address its demographic challenges and support its economy. However, there are growing concerns that this approach may not yield the desired results. Canada's primary motivation for pursuing high immigration levels is to counteract the effects of an aging population and a declining birth rate. The country's fertility rate has hit a record low of 1.33 children per woman in 2022, according to Statistics Canada, which is well below the replacement level of 2.1 children per woman. This means that the number of people aging out of the workforce is outpacing the number of young people entering the labor market, creating a significant economic gap. In response, Canada has set an ambitious goal of bringing in 500,000 immigrants a year by 2025 to fill this labor gap and support its economic growth. However, a closer examination of the skills and study fields of many immigrants and international students reveals a mismatch between their qualifications and the long-term structural needs of the Canadian economy. This discrepancy raises questions about the effectiveness of Canada's immigration strategy in addressing its economic challenges. In this video, we will delve deeper into the complexities of Canada's immigration policies, the economic impact of immigration, and the potential implications for the country's future. By exploring these critical issues, we aim to provide a comprehensive understanding of the challenges and opportunities that Canada faces as it navigates its demographic and economic landscape. According to Statistics Canada, the country's population growth rate has slowed to its lowest level in decades, measured by natural increase, which is births minus deaths, accounting for only a fraction of the overall population growth. Immigration already accounts for practically all of the country's labor force growth, and by 2032, it is expected to account for all of the country's population growth too, according to a government news release. Reports on Statistics Canada indicate that without immigration, Canada's population growth rate would be nearly zero or even negative. Today, about 1 in 4 Canadians have come to the country as an immigrant, the highest among G7 nations. Compare that to the US, where only 14% are immigrants. In the US, there are even concerns that immigrants entering the country through the southern border may reach an all-time high to a point that there will be more than available jobs. Now, on the Canadian side of the border, about half of permanent residents are welcome because of their skills, not under family reunification, and preference is given to highly skilled immigrants who would more easily contribute to Canada's economy, which means the country is trying to make sure its immigration efforts are based on economic reasons. How effective has that been? Has the impact on the economy been as favorable as it hoped? Many would argue otherwise due to the economic hardships bearing down on many Canadians finding it difficult to make ends meet and get basic human needs like housing and food. A shrinking population means fewer workers, fewer taxpayers, and ultimately a smaller workforce to support the country's economic and social programs. This is particularly concerning given Canada's aging population and the increasing demands on healthcare and pension systems. This is why the government's objective is to welcome 465,000 new permanent residents in 2024 and 500,000 per year by 2025. The rationale behind these ambitious targets is that immigration can help mitigate the effects of an aging population and labor shortages, especially in sectors like healthcare, construction, and technology. However, there are growing concerns that immigration may not be effectively mitigating the impact of Canada's aging population and addressing labor shortages in critical sectors. Let's take a closer look at some of the challenges of the immigration strategy. Firstly, while Canada has welcomed a large number of immigrants, there still appears to be a significant mismatch between the skills and qualifications of many newcomers and the specific labor needs in sectors facing acute shortages. In the healthcare sector, Canada has been grappling with a severe shortage of nurses, doctors, and other medical professionals. However, according to a 2021 report by the Canadian Nurses Association, only about 6% of internationally educated nurses, or IENs, were able to secure employment in their field within the first 2 years of arriving in Canada. Similarly, in the construction industry, which has been facing a persistent labor shortage. Many skilled tradespeople who immigrate to Canada struggle to have their foreign credentials and experience recognized, limiting their ability to fill these critical roles. Secondly, as mentioned earlier, Canada has an aging domestic population, but the immigrant population in Canada is also aging, which can potentially undermine the goal of using immigration to offset the effects of an aging domestic population. According to the 2001 Census of Canada, immigrants are older than the national average, and almost 31% of the immigrants from Europe are over 65 years of age. Of the total senior population, 28.4% are immigrants of 5% Asian descent. Overall, 7.2% of the senior population is a visible minority. These patterns have implications for policy development and service delivery. As immigrants age in Canada, they will have very different expectations for services than non-immigrants and immigrants who aged in their home country. Projected figures also show that the mean age of the Canadian population would be between 42.2 years and 47.9 years in 2068, compared to 41.7 years in 2021. An older immigrant population means that a larger portion may not be actively participating in the labor force or contributing to the tax base for an extended period, potentially diminishing the intended economic benefits of immigration. Furthermore, there are also integration and retention challenges. About 5.1% of immigrants admitted between 1982 and 2017 emigrated out of the country within 5 years of landing. This percentage rises to 17.5% 20 years after admission, with annual probabilities of emigrating peaking 3 to 7 years after admission. The fact that highly skilled immigrants are finding better opportunities or higher salaries in other countries is particularly concerning. The loss of these skilled workers not only represents a drain on the Canadian economy, but also a waste of resources invested in their recruitment and integration. Sometimes, even when immigrants possess the necessary skills and qualifications, their successful integration into the Canadian labor market is not guaranteed. Language barriers, lack of Canadian work experience, and discrimination can all hinder their ability to find employment commensurate with their education and experience. Regional disparities also add to the mix of why many think that immigration may not be effectively solving Canada's economic problems. Canada's labor shortages and demographic challenges are not evenly distributed across the country. While major urban centers like Toronto and Vancouver attract a large influx of immigrants, many smaller communities and rural areas struggle to attract and retain newcomers, exacerbating regional economic disparities. These regional disparities mean that immigration may not be effectively addressing labor shortages in certain parts of the country, particularly in sectors like agriculture, mining, and forestry, which are vital to many local economies. Another concern that experts have discussed is skill mismatch. One of the biggest challenges Canada faces is the mismatch between the skills and qualifications of immigrants and the needs of the labor market. According to a 2022 report by the Conference Board of Canada, nearly 51.6% of immigrant workers are overqualified for their jobs, while others struggle to have their foreign credentials recognized in Canada. Many newcomers in Canada, particularly those without Canadian qualifications and work experience, and those with a background in a regulated profession, face considerable difficulty in finding jobs that match their skill set. They often have to take low-income jobs that don't use their full skill set just to make ends meet. This mismatch means that many immigrants are either overqualified, underqualified, or their credentials aren't recognized, and they end up taking jobs that do not fully utilize their skills and education, leading to underemployment and lower productivity. The report estimates that this skill mismatch costs the Canadian economy up to $17 billion annually in lost economic output. Furthermore, there's the issue of underqualification. Despite Canada's efforts to attract skilled workers through various immigration programs, not all immigrants possess the necessary qualifications or experience to meet the demands of the labor market. According to the same report, over 660,000 immigrants who arrived between 2011 and 2016 were underqualified for their jobs. This mismatch between skills and job requirements not only hinders immigrants' economic integration, but also undermines the overall productivity of the workforce. We would also not forget that Canada's high cost of living, particularly in major cities like Toronto and Vancouver, has made it increasingly difficult for many immigrants to establish themselves and build a stable life. The rising cost of housing in particular has been a major challenge, with many immigrants struggling to find affordable accommodation. According to a survey, the high cost of living in Canada is already driving some prospective immigrants from choosing to settle in the country and discouraging others from coming, which could undermine the government's immigration targets. So even though Canada's immigration has played a crucial role in shaping the society and economy and will continue to be an important factor in the country's future growth and prosperity, the concerns raised here highlight the need for a more nuanced and strategic approach to immigration policy. Simply increasing the number of immigrants may not be enough to address the complex economic challenges. More so, immigration alone cannot be expected to fix Canada's economic problems. It needs to be part of a broader strategy that addresses issues such as productivity, innovation, and economic diversification. It's true that there's potential for immigration to support its long-term economic growth and prosperity, but until initiatives that help make these a reality are implemented, Canada may never see its dreams of an immigration-driven economy come to life. Things like improved matching of immigrant skills with labor market needs, better credential recognition processes, enhanced language and job training programs, and efforts to encourage the settlement of newcomers in underserved regions and industries are important for establishing an attractive opportunity to meet projected targets. Many come to Canada with high hopes of building a better future for themselves and family, but the reality becomes much harsher than anticipated. Despite their qualifications, some can't find a job in their field, and the cost of living is increasingly high. In the end, many immigrants have no choice but to return to their home country or move to a different country. While immigration can provide short-term boosts to GDP growth and consumer spending, there's growing evidence to suggest that it may have adverse long-term effects. According to a study published in the Canadian Journal of Economics, excessive immigration can lead to downward pressure on wages, particularly in low-skilled occupations. This not only exacerbates income inequality, but also undermines purchasing power of Canadian workers. Furthermore, there's the issue of strain on public services and infrastructure. A sudden influx of immigrants can put immense pressure on healthcare, education, housing, and transportation systems, leading to overcrowding, longer wait times, and decreased quality of services for both newcomers and longtime residents. According to a report by the Fraser Institute, the cost of providing public services to immigrants exceeds the tax revenue they generate, resulting in a net fiscal burden on Canadian taxpayers. So, what's the bottom line? While immigration may offer short-term benefits in terms of population growth and diversity, it is by no means a panacea for Canada's economic challenges. Without proper integration and support systems in place, immigrants will continue to face barriers to employment and social inclusion, ultimately hindering their ability to contribute fully to the economy. If you like this video, hit the like button and help us spread the word. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications on our latest news and analysis. In the meantime, check out other videos in our catalog to learn more. Thanks for watching.